There are 17 million households across the Southwest, and about 300,000 of them are here in Arkansas. 2 out of 3 of those households live in a house that they own. That's mostly single-family houses. They pay mortgage or they own it outright. And that leaves more than 100,000 of us paying the rent to a landlord. 2 out of 3 of them lives in a house as well. They pay to rent a single-family home. We don't have as many multi-family housing units, things like apartment complexes or duplexes. Not many are planned either, and that's a problem for people without a lot of money.
I can tell you, it seems like it's pretty tight right now, especially for lower income renters.
There is a lack of affordable housing in the state. I think people who have very low incomes obviously don't have as many options.
Jason Auer and Dustin Duke are lawyers who specialize in representing low-income tenants. The numbers bear out what they hear from their clients. The rental sector is growing in Central Arkansas. More people are renting than 2 decades ago. The vacancy rate, meaning the number of places for rent without someone living there, is right around 9%. That's pretty low and reflects a problem for some.
Well, they're limited as far as their options. It's supply and demand. If supply is really low, then they don't have a lot of options to move around. There's not a lot of mobility. They're kind of stuck in a very narrow window as far as what their options for renting are.
And demand is rising. Rental housing is being built where developers can get the best return on their investment. The average rent is $744 a month for a 1-bedroom in the area. New units are going into places with higher rents, West Little Rock, downtown, up toward Conway. But in the middle of the city, rents are less, and developers avoided the area for a decade. So many here are stuck and often have to make the most of bad lease deals.
It is frustrating when someone who has a legitimate issue and is having a hard time living in their apartment then faces eviction on top of that just because they're trying to get some repairs made.
And when disputes land in court, the playing field is uneven. Arkansas's housing laws are tilted heavily toward landlords over rental customers. It's something people like Auer and Duke have been working on changing one case at a time.
So Arkansas is the only state in the whole country that does not have a statewide minimum standard for rental units. What that means is if I'm a renter in Arkansas, there's no guarantee that the place I rent is habitable. There's no guarantee that it will have a working air-conditioned heater in the winter. There's no guarantee that it'll have a roof that doesn't leak. There's no guarantee that it doesn't have a floor that's going to cave in on me.
With no guarantees, some people can get trapped paying for a horrible, even unhealthy place to live. When our 11 News Investigates series continues, Melissa Zigowitz will introduce you to one unlucky renter. Hear how she had to take a drastic step to get away, and hear how in some parts of Arkansas, that can actually make her the criminal. In Little Rock, Rolly Hoyt, THV11 News.
The carpet is wet. Like I said, this was my children.
For over 3 years, LaJoy Person lived in her West Little Rock apartment with her sons.
It's dripping. I see dripping in here too.
She recently just moved out.
This is from the flood upstairs because our apartments constantly flood.
She says the living conditions were uninhabitable.
We had mold up here that all they did was paint over it. When I first got the apartment, they showed me an apartment up front. It was really nice. When I went in there to get my key, they said, we're sorry we had to give your apartment to someone else. They slid me a key and said, your apartment is 509. So I come down here to check it out. And as soon as I come in, that window in the back there was busted open from top to bottom. When I went downstairs, it smelled like a sewage, kind of moldy, just a nasty smell.
But from there, Person says the problems only got worse.
About summer coming, I tried to turn the air on, but it wasn't no air coming through. I told them the air is not working. I need someone to come fix the air. No one come to fix the air.
Other issues included falling ceilings, cracked foundation, and a stove that never turned off.
The burners will be on like I'm cooking. Fiery hot. I'm talking about highest to capacity. It's like I'm cooking and I'm not. I told them about it. And sparks coming out my light switches as well.
Because the stove never turned off, Person experienced high electric bills, causing her to fall behind on payments.
$586 light bills, $600 light bills on me that I have to pay. You know how stressed out that is? I call high blood pressure, I get anxiety.
And last Christmas, the stove caught fire.
These are the cabinets that caught on fire. and they had just sanded over it, and it was sand everywhere. They just sanded these cabinets. It's depressing, you know. It's sad. It's very strenuous on you because you're pleading to the light company. She won't help you. The front office, they won't help you at all and try to get these problems fixed. They just like deal with it.
The state of Arkansas, there are no basic standards for rental property.
Neil Seeley, executive director of Arkansas Community Institute, says person's story is all too common in Arkansas.
Today, I got 2 or 3 calls from people who were having similar problems.
He says under Arkansas law, renters are still required to pay the rent even if their apartment is falling apart.
If your unit has mold or has leaks that are not fixed, or an outdated electrical system that could catch fire, as in the case of LaJoy, that you should have some recourse in the law. That could include, if you have the money to move, breaking the lease.
And Seeley says sometimes people have no other choice but to live in those conditions.
In Little Rock, we have Little Rock City codes. Those codes are helpful, but still a renter is obligated to pay the rent, can't break the lease.
We don't have any rights. We don't have any rights. Like, they can get away with anything.
Person eventually turned to the Attorney General's office for help in 2016. We reached out to Leslie Rutledge and received this statement. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division investigated the circumstances surrounding Ms. Person's complaint regarding living conditions and continues to work with appropriate authorities in order to address such concerns for Arkansas consumers.
See how it's breaking apart up here?
Person says the moldy conditions were never addressed.
Smelling what I'm smelling right now is horrible. It is really bad. I can barely breathe right now as I'm, standing there talking to you.
Giving her no other choice but to move out.
I want to live. Why should we pay you guys to die? Because I feel like I'm in a dangerous, unsafe situation where we can die.
Person has since moved in with her sister.
It's only about the money. That's all they care about is the money.
As she continues to fight back against her landlord.
We're just a dollar sign walking in and out apartments. We're not people to them.
Arkansas law guarantees renters a certain standard of safety in their home. It also has standards that protect landlords from unruly tenants. Figuring out what your rights are can be confusing. Arkansas Legal Services helps low-income tenants with housing issues.
Most other states are going to offer renters more rights than Arkansas does. So we work with what we have.
We've seen photos of apartment sewage issues, leaky ceilings after rain, and missing doors at apartments in Little Rock. So what are your legal options if you have some of these issues and they continue after making management aware?
If it continues not being fixed and ends up causing, some kind of health problem, then you could have the ability to break your lease without.
And if you're still in a lease and problems stick around, do you have to pay rent?
As long as you're living in the place, your safest option is to continue paying that rent, because Arkansas does not have a law that allows you to stop paying that if you're still in the premise.
In the last 3 years, rent in Arkansas has risen nearly 18%. But how much can a landlord raise your rent each lease? As long as there's proper notice, there's not much of a limit, but it still depends.
There may be an argument to be made to a judge that, doubling it after a disaster in particular is not really fair. But I do know that landlords and apartment complexes are allowed to raise rent.
While all of this might seem overwhelming, there are ways to seek help for free. A bunch of those resources are on your screen right now and on THV11.com. And Arkansas Renters United, that last one, is an activist group that may be able to help navigate next steps in finding aid.
I can help you analyze your situation, provide some referrals and resources